I bought a scooter and I rented a shack.
Chris, thanks so much for sitting down today for a little bit.
Happy to.
Here at the Atlantic County Convention.
Yep.
They're getting ready to vote, I think, a little bit out there on the floor. We'll find out the results.
Yep.
So we wanted to ask you some questions that you speak a lot about policy already as it is.
Yep.
Saw you in Camden County last week. But maybe we focus a little bit more on the primary, the Republican Party, and then some personal stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
Not too intensely personal, obviously.
Give it your shot.
First of all, this primary, it's getting a little ugly. We covered, fairly regularly on Save Jersey, the ins and the outs. You've been called a rhino an awful lot, and today we found out that potentially there may be some primaries going on in South Jersey. The Lonigan campaign may or may not be involved in. Basically, I just wanted to get your reaction to where you think this primary is going, your reaction to it, and should you win, how you see yourself as a uniter in the Republican Party to be able to bring us together after this very frank dialogue we're having right now.
Well, listen, it is getting a little bit nasty on the Lonigan side now, but I've made a pledge that I'm not going to go there. The way to bring our party together after the primary is over is to make sure that we treat all the candidates that we have in the primary with respect during the primary. And there are areas where I agree with Steve, there's areas where I disagree, but I'm certainly not going to get into name calling with Steve Lonigan. Unfortunately, he's got into it with me, and I think people, quite frankly, are tired of that kind of politics, and I think it's really working against him. As you look across the 14 conventions or gatherings that we've had already in each county, we've won 14 out of the 14. I'm cautiously optimistic about tonight. They put a big effort in here in Atlantic, so have we, so we're hopeful that we'll do well here tonight. And in winning the 14 we've already won, we've won over 80% of the county committee folks. Now, that's significant because they're the backbone of the party, and they're the people that we're going to have to bring together after it's over. So I'm going to be talking to those folks the day after the primary to make sure that we are together. And interestingly, I heard on the Harry Hurley radio program, which is a local program down here in Atlantic County, that I was on yesterday morning, that Steve Lonigan said on Harry's program last week that if he were to lose to me in the primary, that he would begin working for me the next day. And if he means that, and I have no reason to believe he doesn't, then that will make the task of bringing the party together much easier. And certainly today, the endorsement we got today, Matt, is significant. In terms of those rhino accusations.
Sure. Brett Schundler he's referring to.
Now, I don't think Brett Schundler would ever endorse anybody who was a rhino. Brett Schundler's a conservative. He's been the leader of the conservative wing of our party for many, many years, probably for 8 years now. And Brett's endorsement today is very, very gratifying. So people who have been at all concerned about some of the accusations being hurled around, I think that their minds are put a lot at ease when you have people like Chris Smith and Brett Schundler supporting me. I think that says a lot, and I'm very gratified to have the support.
Flashing forward a little bit, assuming everything goes as planned and you go through the primary and you're victorious, and then you go into November and beat John Corzine like we know you can, you're governor. Not only are you going to be leader of New Jersey, but you're also going to be leader of the Republican Party. Now, my personal opinion, I know the opinion of a lot of other people in our party, is that our last governor and some of our former leaders on our side of the aisle have not done the job of party building that they maybe should have done.
Yep.
As our leader, assuming that's the way things go, what would you do differently to make sure that, beyond the Christie tenure even, we have a strong Republican Party that can, maintain the two-party system in Jersey and really give the taxpayers a choice?
Well, listen, Matt, you're so right, and I agree with you. While I have great admiration for some of our previous Republican governors, some of them didn't do the job of building a bench. You need to build a bench, and the only way to build a bench is to get into each and every one of those counties as the party leader and to encourage good, bright people to run for office and to hold office at every level of government, at the municipal level, at the county level, and run for legislature. That's incredibly important, and I think the only way to do that is for a governor to really spend time on it. You need to spend time on building your party, not just because you want it to be there for you, to support you in the initiatives you want, but just as you said very well, once the Christie governorship is over, you want a Republican Party that's vibrant and strong and that can come back and continue those policies along the way. But candidates matter, and you have to have good candidates.
All right, well, Chris, congratulations.
Thank you.
You took a little break there. You had to go in for the convention festivities, and you just emerged victorious, 932 to 207.
Yep, 81% of the vote.
81%. So you're continuing your string of solid victories.
Yep, listen, it's overwhelming to come to a place like Atlantic County where Steve Lonergan worked as hard as he did.
Right.
And to be able to get 81% of the vote, I think says a lot about the appeal of our campaign and the message that we gave. And, I gave a speech tonight that was on the issues, was on substance, and people seem to respond really, really well to it. And that's what we've been talking about for the last couple of months. We're going to keep doing that right through November.
Absolutely, and it seems like it definitely bodes well for party unity, like we were talking about before the break. And it's a lot of the Lonergan supporters I know from down here were very optimistic and very conciliatory, and
I think you got to
plugging right along.
You got to treat folks with respect. I hope to earn their support between now and June 2nd. If I can't, after the primary's over, I hope to earn their support then.
Now, I know one thing that kind of is appropriate for the fact that we're down here in Atlantic County, and me being a Camden County guy by birth and raised and there all my life, is urban issues. And I know you've made that one of the hallmarks of your campaign. Obviously, New Jersey's got a lot of cities that have great. I know you're a Newark guy, I'm a Camden guy. But in recent years, because of a variety of factors, they've fallen on some hard times. And I know you want to begin to turn that around. So I thought maybe you could explain a little bit about how Christie administration is going to tackle turning our inner cities around.
Well, first of all, we have to turn our cities around, because if they don't become an economic engine again for us, a place where people are paying property taxes, a place where people are working and living every day. The city of Newark, where I was born, has half the number of people today that it had on the day I was born 46 years ago. And that's just unsustainable. It's unsustainable. But we're not going to fix it by throwing more money at it. That experiment's been tried and it's failed. What we need to do is go in there with some innovative ideas about competition and innovation, and we need to use a few things. Let's think about what everybody wants in a place where they live. First and foremost, they want to feel safe. And we need to reform the criminal justice system in a way that's going to make violent criminals spend longer times in jail and get them off our streets. Because if people don't feel safe living someplace, they're not going to buy a house there. Secondly, we need to have an education system in our cities that work. And Abbott has been a disaster. It's been a failure. And, the real disaster and failure of Abbott is not just the money, but more importantly to me, it's the fact that these children are not learning. And we are morally failing a generation of children by not permitting them to get an education that they deserve. So I would go in there and really force change in the Abbott school districts. Get at things like longer school day, longer school year, more charter schools. We need to do things differently in these districts because these kids are failing right now and there's no reason for them to be failing. The third thing you need to do is to have jobs in the cities. And so we need to come up with something like, I want to call them the Garden State Opportunity Zones. Get rid of all these other zones that we have in New Jersey. Because New Jersey always, if there's a problem, New Jersey picks 12 different ways to fix it rather than one good one. We'll get rid of all those. We're going to come up with one good way where you can go into one of these opportunity zones and decide from a menu of tax incentives and development incentives like fast-tracking permitting, fast-tracking zoning approvals, to get businesses back in our cities so that people will have places to go to work where they live. The fourth thing is obviously affordable housing, and the governor's affordable housing plan is ridiculous and it's wrong-headed. We need to build affordable housing around mass transit hubs so that people can take mass transit to work, because people who need affordable housing often can't afford to have two cars in a two-earner house and pay the gas and the insurance and everything else that goes along with it.
Absolutely.
So we need to be having by mass transit. Those are the pillars of the ideas for urban revitalization. And in a few weeks we're going to be coming out with our urban revitalization plan in more detail. But those are the foundations of that plan. And I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about that this fall because I'm going to convince the voters in New Jersey that we need to fix our cities in order to fix our state.
I bought a scooter and I rented a shack out in the sun.